How you doing? Hey, my name is Vinix, Crazy Mike, just don't call me senpai, and today we are back at it again with another episode of the podcast, the Anime Talk podcast. Today we have a little bit of an interesting one for all you older gents and ladies out there, if there are ladies watching. If there is, wow, that's surprising. But as you probably can tell, this one is not meant for children. The reason for that is I was debating doing this one for a couple reasons. The number one reason is this anime is in fact rated R for nudity, gore, and violence. Oh no, and language. Well, the violence obviously goes with the gore, obviously. But and just the ending. The ending really pisses me off, so I don't know if I wanted, because as soon as I get into an anime that kind of pissed me off a little bit, I start to get a little negative, and I don't want to do that. But the reason that I am doing this is because just because the ending was so flippin' bad, the rest of it was really good. And for an R-rated anime, which I didn't, when I first started it, I didn't think it was going to be R-rated. But when I started, it was like the 10th episode, I realized, oh, this is definitely rated R. But it was just getting so good that I just couldn't stop watching. And that's why I figured, you know what, it's probably not that bad. We'll continue watching it. And when I got to like the 12th episode, I'm like, okay, I need to do a review on this. This anime is amazing. But then I got further on. I'm like, okay, what the heck? But I've already at that point, I already made a script, got some ideas written down, and I ended up getting rid of most of those ideas because it affected the ending. So I actually ended up doing more work than I needed to. If I were to just be patient and just wait to finish it, I could have stopped all this work. But yes, bunch of spoilers ahead, obviously, for it's a review. Obviously, there's going to be some spoilers, and not for kids. Obviously, I already mentioned that it's R-rated for good reasons. Like I said, a little bit of nudity, gore, and language. So yeah, just letting you all know that right now before we get into this, so I don't have any children watching this and some Karen coming after me saying, "Hey, why'd you let little Jimmy watch this? I let him watch your podcast all the time because I thought you were a good influence." Well, that might be true, but this episode I would not recommend watching. All right, but without further ado, the anime we are going to be reviewing today is The Future Diary. So when I first read it, The Future Diary, I didn't know what to expect. Literally the only thing going into this anime that I knew was that the girl is completely crazy. That is literally the only thing I knew about going into this anime. I didn't know anything about it. I just knew that the girl was a complete lunatic going into this. And that's literally it. That's it. But then later on, I found out that, hey, it's actually pretty good. So, well, Vinix, stop telling us how good it is. You're overhyping it. Yes, I am definitely overhyping it a lot. So I'm just going to tell you what it's about, and then you can decide if you want to watch it or not, and then come back, watch this. There is 26 episodes, so it's a little bit on the longer side. Obviously, it has the manga as well, if you want to go read that. I believe there's 12 volumes of the manga as well. So if you want to go read that, read it, watch it, whatever. Do that. Come back here. But first, obviously, let me explain what it's about. So basically, this high schooler named Yuki is, well, that's not his full name, but I'm just going to be using Yuki because that's the name that is most properly used in the anime itself. So this high schooler named Yuki, he's kind of on the loner side. Well, what I mean, kind of. He is on the loner side. No one really talks to him in school. He's kind of always on his phone the whole time. He has a virtual diary, so basically, obviously, it's what it is. He writes down everything that happens around him. Now, keep this in mind. He writes down everything that happens around him. So just saying. So, yeah, he has a diary. He writes down everything that happens. Basically, he has these darts at home. He throws it. He gets a bullseye. He writes that in his diary. Okay? Simple, right? Yeah. But he also has, since he doesn't have friends, he's going to have some imaginary ones, because why not? But turns out, well, we don't know this quite yet, but turns out his I just lost my train of thought. Jesus. What was I talking about? Oh, shoot. No, not a good time to mess up. His imaginary friends. There we go. Jesus, that took a lot of brain effort. So his imaginary friends turn out they're actually the gods of space and time. Now, after he finds this out that they're actually not like imaginary, they're actually real gods. The gods bestow upon Yuki the power to see into the future with his phone. So basically, I'm assuming you can guess where this little part is going. It's a future diary. So he flips out his phone. It gives him everything that's going to happen in the future, everything that happens around him. See, it only gives like things to the theme. So for instance, Yuki can only see things that happen around him. But his actually is one on the more useful side out of the other people's, which you'll see that in a second. So basically, he flips out his phone. He can see everything that's going to happen. He uses it on the first couple days to cheat during the tests. Knows if bullies are going to beat him up. Just, the usual things you would do if you had the power to see in the future, right? I mean, hey, I don't know if I were you, but if I had the power to see into the future, I would have known to ask out Jessica on that one day, but no, I didn't have a phone that could see into the future. But anyway, so after a while of that happening, he gets confronted by this girl named Yuno, and basically Yuno is, well, we don't get reviewed to this right away, but decently quickly, that she also has a diary, but the difference between his diary and her diary, spoiler, she's a stalker. Her diary can only see what he's doing. So literally every 10 minutes, and they explain this, every 10 minutes, she gets not notification, but she gets notified every 10 minutes on what he's doing, no matter what. And basically what leads to them finding each other is they're getting tracked down by a serial killer with also, we find out, that had a phone. And that's basically where the series starts really taking its turn. But when Yuki goes to his I'm just gonna call him the god now. I forget his name. It's blurry. I'm struggling right now. But when he goes and God and asks him about the phone, he brings him to this like meeting place where there's technically 12 other candidates, but 11 because the murderer that was trying to kill Yuki before was one of the 12. We'll get why I'm saying 12 and not 11 now. But anyway, so there was 12 contestants, and basically all 12 of these people are in this huge Hunger Games or Battle Royale to see who is going to be the last person standing. And the last person standing gets to be the new god. Now, that's the basic idea of what this game is supposed to be. However, along the way, the rules start to change a little bit, as in people teaming up, a little bit of unfair advantages, and when I mean unfair, I mean freaking unfair. And then, in the end, the whole game was kind of rigged, a little bit. I'm not going to give many spoilers, but from here on out, so yeah, I'm going to stop with the spoiling. Wait, no. Sorry. From here on out, there are going to be spoilers. So if you want to watch it still, I suggest you stop it here. Go read it, watch it, and then come back. Because now we're going to get into the spoilers. So like I just explained, yes, Yuki is now in this huge murder competition. And he basically, at first he really doesn't, well, obviously he's going to care because he's on the chopping block. But he doesn't really care all that much about becoming God. So basically, he's just trying to survive at first. At first, he's just trying to survive. Obviously, Yuno is a complete psychopath, so she's like murdering everyone. But she's doing it to protect him. So kind of some good. She's kind of helping him. Well, what I mean, kind of. She is helping him, but she's not doing it in a good way, which is a little bit on the wrong side. But you know what? I'm not going to complain. I still think that, things could have turned out way differently if Yuki were to just accept on like the third or second time she saved his life. But that's just a personal opinion. So basically, along the way, they end up facing every number back to back. Well, not like in order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No. They're not like doing it in that order. They're just like facing them back to back to back, not in specific order. I'm really overthinking this. But yeah, which is kind of the confusing part. You'd think in a huge murder game, everyone would be in a free-for-all, but it almost seems like everyone was against Yuki to begin with. Because I would think if you're in a huge murder game, you would try to murder other people, but no one else killed any other number. Everyone only tried to kill Yuki, which is a little on the sus side, which makes me think that this game might have been a little rigged, or someone might have been tipping someone off to only kill Yuki, because no one else died from another person. The only people who killed the numbers was basically Yuno and Yuki, which kind of confused me. So yeah, basically when the game first starts, number 3 is already dead, which was the serial killer that died, and basically every number gets ticked off one after another. For instance, there were a shrine maiden, kind of. She was kind of a shrine maiden. She was kind of like a cult leader shrine maiden. But basically, like I said, every diary has a different purpose. So the serial killer's diary was the murder diary, where he literally could just track down his targets. Kind of a basic one, kind of a simple one. But the shrine maiden one, her so-called diary, instead of a phone, it was like a scroll. But she could see everything that her cult members see or write down, So she could see everything in that, and of course they're going to give us a tragic backstory before she gets murdered, which, I get that they're doing that to make us feel bad, but come on. They just try to murder him. Come on. So basically that, and then there's a literal, I think they said this child was 4 years old. Honestly, okay, my favorite character in this whole series has to be this child. Not just because this child is full on like creating poisonous gas in their home, and he almost killed Yuki and Yuno, which is the funny part. And I think this child is complete psycho, but I don't know why I love this child so much. I don't know. I think it's the most awesome thing ever. I don't know if it's actually a girl or a boy now that I mention it, but just my favorite character is the child. But as you may have thought, Yuki and Yuno end up killing him. Him. I don't know what is his or her gender. I don't know. No one knows. But basically, they get through the game, and then about like episode like 18 to 20, or 18 and so on, things start to get interesting. And what I mean by interesting, I mean it's going off the fan here. All right, I'm talking sabotage from the God's Apprentice. Turns out spoilers real quick, you might want to mute for a couple seconds. Turns out Yuno was the past winner in another life and has come back. I don't know what her true objective was. It was kind of fuzzy. Because at first I'm thinking, oh, she just wants to save Yuki. But then she ends up trying to kill him. And it's all so confusing. This is number one reason why I don't like animes that have to do with time. They just hurt my brain. Although, if I'm going to be perfectly honest, this one wasn't that bad. Because I'm not a huge fan of mystery animes, but you know what, this one I didn't have that much of a problem following along. Obviously there was a couple things that were a little fuzzy, but in the end I got the hang of it. But anyway, basically that's the whole anime. Is Yuki is trying, well, at first he's not trying to win the game, but then his family gets murdered by, who did his family get murdered? His mom gets murdered by his dad, and his dad, after Yuki finally patches things up with his dad for murdering his mom, he dies right away. Like, I'm not even kidding. Like, the next minute, he dies on a walk with Yuki. I don't know why I'm laughing. It was such a sad moment. And then after that moment, he completely goes badass mode. I think that was the real turning point for Yuki. Because before that he was kind of he cried all the time. I mean, he still was afterwards, but not as much. But his personality completely changed after that happened, and I enjoyed it a lot more than little crybaby. But basically, like I said, parents get murdered. He does that, and then he goes on to kill the remaining. No, he kills. There was four contestants left. He kills one of them, which this guy had a really unfair advantage. He was like hiding in the vault, and he helped create the game apparently, or the cell phones, not the game. He helped create the phones and the diaries and all that. But Yuno ends up killing him, and then Yuki ends up going after the last one, which is being protected by his friends that he made along the way and had a deep connection with. And then out of which this is where things started pissing me off. These from here on out, from this episode on, I think this was episode 23. Episode 23 to 26 were the worst ones ever because they were being so flippin' dumb. And what I mean dumb, I mean dumb. So basically, Yuki's friends were trying to protect the last person, not because they didn't want Yuki to murder that contestant. They just didn't want Yuno to live before the other contestant. They were trying to tell Yuki that Yuno is evil and that is planning on they found out somehow that Yuno is from a different timeline. I don't know how they figured that out entirely. I mean, there's some key evidence there, but that's such a far-fetched thing to just assume. But anyway, they figure it out, and they're just trying to stop Yuki from killing her before Yuno. Basically, is what I'm personally kind of getting from this. But I you can't really be perfectly honest. So they end up trying to do that, and then Yuki, out of cold freaking blood, murders them one after another, and murders all of them. Ends up we have one episode. 25 was somewhat decent. There was like a 10-minute mark where everything you thought was going normal, but I knew that something was going to go wrong because there was still another episode left. So 10 minutes into that episode, Yuki, they're living a happy life. The world's about to end, but they're happy that they're going to die at least together. And then Yuki brings up the fact that their friends, before they died, they mentioned that Yuno is from a different timeline. And then here's where Yuno makes a mistake. Yuki said that he didn't believe them anyway to begin with. Now, if I were Yuki or Yuno in this situation, I would have left it as is, because he just said that he doesn't suspect her of doing it anyway. He literally thought that they were lying. But no, Yuno had to bring out her axe and start hacking away at him. And then obviously it gets revealed, hey, Yuno was God in the last game. Oh no! I should have listened to my friends. No kidding. So basically they have a huge fight. Yuki ends up winning after... I'm not going to spoil too much. Come on. I'm not a complete lunatic like Yuno, okay? Come on. Basically, Yuki ends up... There are two Y names, and it's messing me up. Yuki is the guy. Yuno is the girl. Yuki ends up winning. He becomes God. He returns to his timeline because they went back and Yuno went back in time to try it again, but Yuno stopped her and killed him, and then he went back to his old timeline, but in this timeline the world is technically destroyed. Oh my god. And now this is the ending that pisses me off. What Yuno could have done was two things that would have made me happy with this ending. Number one, one of them's bad and one of them's good. The first one, which I wish he did, which he technically did, but it took him like 10,000 years to do it, and I'm not even kidding, they literally said 10,000 years, is to create you're now God, do your role. because as soon as he gets back to his old timeline, he's super depressed and he's just not having it. Or the second thing, which is kind of the bad guy way, but you know what? I would have been happy with this, is he goes to a different timeline because he was still upset that obviously he kills her. So he was still upset. So I would have been okay with him going back and doing the same thing that Yuno did, trying to live with another Yuno in a different universe. But he didn't end up doing it. And what pisses me off more is that in the other future that they saved, the Yuno and Yuki are completely separated. Completely. Yuki ends up dating the girl that completely dumped him in the beginning, and Yuno ends up just completely alone. It's such a freaking bad ending to a good anime. You could have had a super good ending to this anime, had them live happily ever after. I know that's really cheesy, but that's what I want. I mean, okay, sure, it's a supernatural thriller and mystery and psychological, sure, but you could have had at least some kind of happy ending. This is not a happy ending. This is a depressing ending that I really did not like. Now that we got the plot out of the way, we can now remove to the actual rating itself. I know I kind of rambled on there, but you now realize why I said at the beginning I was hesitant to make this, because we're already at the 20-minute mark, and I've basically give a play-by-play of the whole anime, and it's so pissing me off. It just freaking pisses me off. But anyway, we're gonna actually get to the real review. So plot-wise, obviously, the plot to begin with was actually really good. I loved the plot itself. Like I said, I hated the ending, and therefore the ending was really bad. And I know this is kind of selfish, but I was just way too pissed off to actually give a crap. So, yeah. You know what the plot's going to get for me? It's going to get a big old 4. Was not happy with the ending. The ending was really the turning point. Originally, I was going to give it like an 8. There's a couple things here and there. Originally, I was going to give it a 7. I'm going to give it a 7 originally, because the characters are just complete idiots. Yuki has zero trust in Yuno after Yuno saving him multiple times, and this whole story could have ended differently if they just played their cards 100% differently. They could have. I'm sure they could have found a way to live together, if I'm going to be completely honest. Because technically, Yuno was already God, so Yuki technically didn't have to die because she was already technically God, so there's no reason to find another one if she's already God. They could have just let Yuno live with... let Yuki live with Yuno, who Yuno was already God with. Just saying. But that ending got me, so it's gonna get a 4 for plot. I'm sorry. It was not good. Music wise, opening 1, I really liked. Opening 1 was pretty good. Actually, who am I kidding? It was actually freaking good. The music was great. The animation was decently good. A little bit on the boring side, but it was still really cool to see the animation for the opening on the first one. So, but however, it gets some points taken off for the second one, because for the second opening, they used clips from the first one, like a bunch of clips from the first one. So it's going to get some points taken down, but I still love the music for both of them. The animation was still really good. And so was the music. So you know what? I'll be on the kinder side and give the opening we'll give it a 7 out of 10 for the music, because it wasn't exactly my favorite opening of all time. I'm not going to put it on my favorites playlist, but I still love the animation. The music was pretty good. Art style, as far as art goes, I felt the art wasn't entirely unique, but I also didn't see anything wrong with it. I mean, I have no complaints, but if we were to play like a guessing game and the Future Diary came up as in guess the anime art, I wouldn't be able to guess it, because it's not that easy to guess, because it's not as unique. But however, I don't have any issues with it, so it's gonna get an 8 out of 10 because I don't have any issues with it. It's just not unique. So as for the final mark, I don't know if some people might be. I don't know how popular this one is. I didn't actually do enough research, obviously, before going into this. So people might be mad with my final mark, and I don't blame you. I'm actually a little pissed at myself as well. But the final mark, I don't know if this is the first time I've given a 0.5 for a mark, but it's going to get a 6.5. It's going to get a 6.5 out of me. It wasn't entirely bad, but that ending, I was so close to giving it an 8 out of 10, but then that ending messed it all up. God, I really wish they could have found an alternative. And I read the manga, it ends the same way. I'm just really pissed. So yeah, gets a 6.5 out of 10 for me. And holy cow, we were at the 25-minute mark. I did not expect this episode to go on this long. I apologize for this episode to be taking this long. But like I said, when you get me pissed, I'm going to be talking about this for a very long time. So that's going to do it for today's episode. I don't think we had any questions. I'm just going to check real quick. Obviously, if you do have questions, ask it on my Instagram. Ask it. Oh, what was that? Ask it on my YouTube channel. Ask it anywhere. I love to hear from you guys, and I want to. We don't exactly have any question. We don't have a question. No, we don't have questions this week. Don't have questions this week. But if you do have questions, go to my Instagram, go to my Twitter. Same thing every time. It doesn't change. It's Vinix Official, no spaces, capital V and a capital O. Go type that in. Anytime there's a special thing, I should have mentioned this at the beginning. Yeah, I don't know how to exactly say this. I'm just gonna go ahead and say it. I have for the future. Number one, this is all bad news. First of all, let me just plain old and simply get that out of the way. This is all gonna be bad news unless you absolutely hate me. Then this is good news for you. So. Number one, first of all, okay, we have one piece of good news, but it's kind of on the side. So first bad news is I can't make a website for the actual channel itself. Okay, let me change that. I can, but it costs way too much money, and there's another reason why I'm not going to do it, which we'll get to in a second, which is also part of the bad news. Second bad news is I have tried to get into different podcast platforms. However, you need a website to do it, and the website's not really working out for me. Third piece of bad news, and this is the final piece of bad news. I have an official day that the Anime Talk podcast will be coming to an end. Now, don't be sad about this because I'm planning. I want to do more. This was really, really fun, and I'm going to do more podcasts in the future. Maybe they're not going to be anime. Maybe they're probably going to be. I have no clue. We're gonna have to see in the future. But I have an official day that the Anime Talk podcast will officially end. And that day will be August 27th, 2021. That is the official day. And there's a reason for that. Obviously, the reason that I'm not going to create a website is because the day is the summer. So I'm not going to plan on continuing this. The reason that I'm ending it then most of it has to do with me, and a little bit has to do with the current situation of the world right now. Personally, I think that we're going to be in lockdown in August. We're going to be locked down, and I know that doesn't sound like an excuse why it should be stopping. However, I'm also I don't know, obviously you guys don't know this, but I am not going to school right now. like at all. I'm not even online school. I'm not going to a school at all. And that is why the main reason why I actually started this podcast to begin with is because I had way too much time on my hands and I thought this would be a great opportunity to try and just see. Obviously, it was fun. I had a lot of fun during the way. But I'm planning in next September or this September 2021, so September 2021, I'm planning on going to school. And not only that, I'm going to an acting school, which is acting school. This is getting really personal, but the acting school involves me to be open all of the time or not, it's performing arts, but whatever. It involves me to be available 24/7, and I just don't have the time to do this. I know I'm such a jerk, but I'm just letting you guys know that is the official day that the podcast will be ending, on the 27th. But I have something planned for the 27th that'll be really fun. The 27th and the 20th, I have something fun planned, and you guys will just have to wait and see. But I hope you guys will continue to stay with me till that day comes. But without further ado, guys, this has been Vinix Craze Mike. Just don't call me senpai. And I will see you guys again next week for another podcast episode. If you have any questions, like I said, Twitter, Instagram, Vinix Official, no space, capital O, capital V. And I will see you guys next week for another episode. Have a great day.